Good morning, everybody. It's Monday. As you're watching this, I hope you're enjoying, had a great weekend. This week, we're going to bring on Bernie Mancuso in a minute. He is a local builder here on the Outer Banks, primarily serving Corolla market. He does make it as far down as Southern Shores and certainly Duck. I've known Bernie a long time. We met when I was just a year or two into banking on the Outer Banks. That was like 1988, maybe. Um, he came here to work for another builder. It's a great little story about Bernie. I think you'll really enjoy it. I want to just say about mortgage financing and construction financing is that construction financing is something that I really love doing. The relationship and the time that it takes to do these loans is a little different than a purchase. And so you have this ability to talk to people sometimes years in advance of building. And honestly, lenders, generally speaking, don't do construction financing well. There's really no perfect one-time close program. There are two closing programs. There are a lot of nuances to construction lending. And that's what makes it fun, is that we can give people real advice and really make a difference in their cost, in their experience, and take some of the stress out of building a house. Building a house is stressful for most people, and they're worried about cost, and they're worried about the financing. And I just enjoy the relationship, the explanation, the time, the detail, and providing that level of challenge to me every day in helping people buy a house with new construction financing. So Bernie and Alex are going to come in, and I appreciate your time and watching this. And have a great week. For those that are joining us today, we've got Bernie Mancuso here with us. Bernie is a builder in the Corolla area predominantly. He covers the market mostly from Duck to Corolla, probably not including the four-wheel drive area. Do you say you go into the four-wheel drive area, Bernie?
Times I've been there. I'm actually doing a house there right now.
Okay, yeah, that's right. I do remember a couple of really large houses you built up there too, way 10 years back or so.
Yeah, but it was about 7 years ago we built a 24 bedroom, and right now we're building a second home for someone who's there using it as a guest house, and it will be 10 bedrooms.
Okay, so he does cover the four-wheel drive area from Duck to the Virginia line. So um, we just thought it would be a great idea to bring people on like builders that we work with who we think represent certain markets and do a really good job in those areas. And Bernie is certainly one of those. So, like, Bernie, when did you come to the Outer Banks and how did you get here?
I basically am originally from New York, Long Island, and went out to Texas for a while for graduate school. And when I was done with graduate school, I ended up getting a job working for a very large builder. I think they were the 10th largest builder in the country at the time, and was a project manager for them. And they built literally thousands of homes a year, and kind of learned most of my craft from working there. Uh, Used to vacation on the Outer Banks.
Okay.
So a
When you
couple
were
times I
young
started.
or
No,
older?
no, as I got after high school,
Okay.
um, had some in-laws who were living down here, retired, and so we'd come down and visit them, and came down a few times and really liked the place. I thought Texas was wonderful as well, but I did miss the ocean and the beach, and so I wanted more of that lifestyle.
Right. Okay. Good.
So I ended up getting a job working for, again, a construction company here for a short period of time.
Okay. I didn't
And
realize that. That's
yeah, I worked
interesting.
for a company, Daniels and Daniels, if you remember them way
Oh
back.
yeah. Oh yeah.
That was in the 80s.
Yep.
Um,
Quite an
so
interesting story with Daniels and Daniels. We don't want to go there. That would take up the whole meeting.
that is true. But I got very lucky as they ended up going out of business for various reasons. I was lucky enough as one of their project managers to be licensed, and ended up picking a lot of their contracts up in the Corolla area.
Yeah, and they were
So
pretty
right off
high
the
end.
bat,
They were a pretty high end builder too at the
yes,
time. Yeah.
yes.
You guys are
You know,
showing
we
your
ended
age.
up building a.
You guys just sound old as hell.
Well,
Like
when we
we've been
get to
here
the
a while.
Yeah.
yeah, when we
Keep
get to the
going,
part
Bernie.
that you were born, we'll bring you into the conversation.
Yeah, that's right. Hey, some people like hearing history and how it was. So
All right, keep
maybe a
going.
lot of our
There's
readers
still
might
no
be
cell. There's
might
still
be
no cell phones
geriatric.
in this era that you're talking about. But keep going.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Cool.
Right. Some of it's like learning about history. Some of it's made history. Okay, a young boy.
All right.
Anyway, I ended up in Corolla mostly building some townhouses. I did some of my own developments as well within Corolla Light, little subdevelopments where we built some condominiums and then some small homes. Got lucky when the golf course came around.
Let me point out, that means you probably built the condominiums that are in the Corolla Club, didn't you?
No, I did not build those.
No, you did not build those. Okay.
No, I built the ones in Corolla Light, but not the
Okay.
ones in the Corolla Club.
So with Mr. Brindley.
Right.
Okay.
After doing those, I was working over at the Corolla Club. I kind of built the first house ever built in the Corolla Club. And they had a section of 70 homes that they wanted to get built. So we bought the land and developed it and ended up building 70 smaller homes. And we did that in about 2 years.
That was Magnolia Bay, wasn't it?
That it was.
Right. Uh-huh.
And if I remember correctly, you financed probably 90% of them at the time.
Yeah, we've had a long and great relationship with you, so we appreciate that. Yep.
So, and then after that, I kind of went over and did what was called the cottages. It was another 26 home subdivision, and after that, I stayed more as a custom builder. Kind of fell more into that. The market was getting very upscale, and we kind of went into that market and built, I'd say, close to 250 to 300 custom homes, plus the original condominiums and townhouses, about another 200 of them. So all in all, over the past 35 years, we've done almost 500 homes.
That's a lot. I really don't know any builder that's built 500 homes. Certainly not in Corolla area, in that zip code 27927, I think it is.
Right.
And of course, a few in Duck and Southern Shores too, but most of them in the Corolla market area. So, we talked a little bit about your history. So, tell me, when you first met me, why did we end up doing so much? Why do we end up doing so much business together? Because we financed hopefully 200 of those 350 homes.
Actually, I think more than that.
Okay, well, great. Okay.
When I first moved here, coming from a big company from Texas, they had a really nice way of bringing people through the process. And I was surprised when I got to the Outer Banks and started became a builder, that everyone was pretty much out of the back of a pickup truck is the way most of the builders were working. They were building 2 or 3 houses a year, and then they really weren't catering very much to the client. They were more just worried about fishing and doing other things like that.
Right. You came here to work.
Yeah. We came here with a concept of a one-stop shop.
Right.
So part of it was we don't want our customers to have to leave our office and go choose things and be real involved in the building process. And so many of them live out of state. So we wanted to make the process as easy as we could and also be enjoyable and fun. So we set up our own showroom. We have our own designers, our own architects, and our own finance people that we deal with. And that's where our relationship kept growing. Was I knew if I sent them to you that we were pretty much going to give them the best product we could possibly give them between what we do and what you do. You were well known to pretty much find ways to get most people financed. I mean, not everyone, of course, can be, but most of them you can. And we just started doing a lot of custom homes and moving along with, and then they just kept getting bigger and bigger.
Right.
The numbers that were $400,000 and $500,000 were now $2 million.
Yeah, you sort of answered my question. One of them was, how do you get people to choose to build with you? And I think you answered it. You can provide this one-stop shop. You can look at the background behind you. It's not a fancy office with, a mantelpiece that's showcased nice and comfortable for you. It's a place where you can work with clients to show them kitchen options for countertops or cabinets or whatever. That's what's in your background. Carpet choices, tile, and I think that when you provide people a comprehensive way to do stuff and all that option, it really is. How many people do you have on permanent staff to help us do that? Help you do that?
We have 6 of us total, and we also then have an architect who works almost exclusively for us as a subcontractor.
Mm-hmm.
But again, it's that whole process of taking them from they come in and meet us once or twice, and then we kind of take a look at the property, come up with a plan of attack of how we want to design the house and build it, make
Mm-hmm.
sure that we're staying within their budget.
Mm-hmm.
And even that we should probably talk about a little bit. But we'll meet with our project managers, and then we have 2 in-house actual designers who help them through the whole process of selecting the different cabinets, countertops, and those different items.
Right. That sort of leads me. So you got this team that you employ that are your employees, and I think it's be curious to ask as we sort of talk about the idea of building, what it's like to build a house. How many tradesmen does it take to build a house?
Get close to 400 people. And of course, we don't deal with all 400. We're dealing with a lot of their lead men and business owners. Our electrician will employ 4 or 5 people. So we're dealing with the lead guys of the companies. I prefer to usually use a smaller plumbing crew of smaller electricians, HVAC. I don't really like using real big companies because that way we know everybody who's on site, what exactly they're doing and the quality we can expect from them.
Mm-hmm. So there's 400 people involved in building a house.
Yes.
Wow. And out of that different type of each one of those contractors, is there 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 contractors? They're employing people you're counting in that 400, right?
Yes. For instance, I have a framing crew. Actually, I have 3 framing crews, but we keep them busy year round. So they don't work for other companies.
Right.
So when they're working for us, my framer might have 6 or 8 guys that work for him.
Right.
So again, I'm dealing with the lead man, the owner of the company, and then he's directing from there.
Right. Right. Are those people a lot of like family?
My lead framer has been with me for 35 years. I've never gotten in an argument with him, so I can't say it's like family because I've argued with my wife probably just yesterday, but never my framer.
That's pretty easy to do, though.
Yes, it is. You're right, though. Most of the guys that work for us, I've seen their kids grow up, their wives who originally were first in the business with
Right.
them. Now their wives are home and, live in nice houses. And I make sure that everybody's making a fair living. And so we do treat everybody like family. We don't want to take advantage of our subs, and we don't want them taking advantage of us either.
Right. Right. So, let's just sort of move on to like an environment that we're in today economically. Let's talk a little bit about that if you got a second.
Yeah.
So like, what do you see in the current environment? Do you see people hesitant? Are they building more or less? Are they freaked out by the cost? What's it cost per square foot to build a house? Or is that even a barometer that people should use? I know that people talk to me in those terms about, I hope it's going to cost me this number, 800, $1.2 million, 1.5, whatever the number might be. But there's also but I'm thinking it's going to be $300 to $400 a square foot, and it has a lot to do with the size house I built.
Right.
And of course, I'm curious about the environment. How do people, I know I'm throwing a lot at you, so I'll let you sort of pick one of those topics and go into it, and I'll keep guiding you. How's that go?
Well, to kind of start with the marketing aspect of it, I would say in the last 20 years, I've never spent a dime on marketing. Never but advertised, never had to. We are strictly word of mouth, or like this coming year, I would say 70% of the homes we're building are for repeat customers. I
Okay.
have a personal meeting just like next week. I built her parents' house 25
Right.
years ago, and now they're down here to build theirs.
Right.
We really, most of the people I've already built for, so I know who they are, makes it a really pleasant environment because they know they can trust us.
Right.
And it's a compliment to me
It is
that
very much.
they cared, that they thought enough of us the first time to use us for a second and third. One
Right.
person we have 8 houses for.
Right. Right. That's really great. So, do you see the environment of cost and the economy affecting your building at all?
I'm finding that once the people have built their first house and get past that concern of is the house ever going to rent, and I'm finding most of the people are saying that they do really well in the rental programs. I know you did an article talking about percentage and how that kind of works, the 10% rule. We're finding a lot of the bigger homes, especially, do meet that 10%. Some even do better.
Right.
So
Right.
it's once they've been through that and realize that they do have cash flow that's going to be pretty substantial, they're not too nervous about investing a second and third time. Really not seeing any issue with mortgage rates. I'm not getting any complaints on that at all.
But we do.
I'm sure you do every day.
They blaming us for that one. So, but but they do. Some people certainly understand, and some people, don't have the same situation. Makes a difference too with what rate they get, and they seem to be pretty understanding. So, is it how do you feel about the general public liking to price something on a per cost square foot basis? And would you give us a guideline of what do you think your houses typically cost per square foot in a range?
Yeah, basically what I try to do with folks is when they come down to meet, obviously that's one of the first questions. How much are they, what is this going to cost me? So we usually try to figure out how many bedrooms do they want to have? Is it a 3-bedroom house or is it a 10-bedroom house? And then what I'll do is I'll usually pick 3 homes and I'll take them through houses similar to, whether it's a 10-bedroom house, I'll take them to 3 different houses that are 10 bedrooms. Or if they're going to want to do an oceanfront, I have a lot of oceanfront homes in Whalehead that I'll take them to. And whenever we're in, I tell them, don't even worry about the square footage. I'm just going to tell you the price of the house. So if you're going to build, for instance, oceanfront in Whalehead right now, in today's market, you're going to spend $2 million on a lot, and you're going to spend somewhere in the range of 1.7 to 2.3 million for the house, the pool, the decks, the whole concept. The problem with square foot pricing, and I have seen competitors do this in the past, and it's what do you consider the square footage of a house? Is it heated space, or is it all enclosed space like garage and maybe an outside room that you have, cabanas? Or is it the house, the closed in space and all the decks? I've seen people quote all those 3 different ways. So one buyer might say, hey, it's $300 a square foot based on heating, where the next builder may look at the house and go, well, based on the decks, the closed in space, and your heated square footage, which they don't bring up, those 3 items, you're at $100 a square foot. So it's hard really to come up with numbers. I try to tell folks, if you're building in the Currituck Club and you're building a typical 5-6 bedroom house, which is kind of the norm, you're going to spend somewhere in $1 million range to $1.2 million or $3 million. If you're in Whalehead and you're going to do one of the larger 12-bedroom houses, you're up in the 1.6, 1.8, maybe $2 million range. So it all kind of varies on the community you're in and size of the house, because the bigger the house is, the less expensive it is. Because the most expensive parts of a house are your kitchen and your bathrooms. So then also, whether or not you need $100,000 septic system, or whether you're hooked up to sewer like in the Currituck Club.
Right, right.
So all those things are involved. Well, some people get a pool, some people don't have a pool. Or a perfect example of trying to figure out, like when people go, what does a pool cost? It's
Right.
real simple. I've done, in the past 3 years, I've done a pool of 70,000, and I did a pool complex at 500,000. All depends on how big a pool you want, what amenities you want in it. Do you want fire? Do you want waterfalls? Do you want, a lazy river? We do all those things. I mean,
Right,
being a
right.
custom home builder, we're really lucky in the fact we can do anything you want.
Right.
It's just, what kind of budget do we want to work in? So once I've shown people their houses, like a 6-bedroom or a 10-bedroom, whatever it is, and show them a price, I ask them, what do you want the price of your home to be? Where do you want to sit? And then when we hook up with our architect, who deals just with me, client never even speaks to the architect, then we are directing the architect based on price, how to design the house.
So if you build a 5 to 6 bedroom house in the Currituck Club, is that a 4,000 square foot house or is it a 5,000 square foot house?
Usually it's about a 3,500 square foot house.
About 3,500. Okay.
Right.
And what are the square footage of the houses that are oceanfront in Wellhead? Those $2 million lots you talked about.
Well, when you're dealing in oceanfront property, you have to deal with some state agencies and federal agencies. So
Right.
You're kind of controlled by them more than you are by how big a house. Basically, the biggest house you can build oceanfront, being very general with my rules here, is 5,000 square feet. And you're allowed to do an auxiliary building that can have bedrooms in it for an additional 1,800 square feet. So you're allowed 6,800 square feet of builded heated space. I'm sorry. Closed in space, because they count to the garage and places that are not heated.
Okay. So do people build the full 6,800 when they're building the oceanfronts?
Right to the penny. Yes.
So I mean, honestly, they're building a 6,800 square foot house for roughly $2 million.
Right.
That sounds like a lot, but I recently had customers from the West Coast, and they would tell you, "Oh, can I build 2 of them for that price?" So,
Oh yeah.
because they would, because they say they couldn't even touch it in California, for example, or
And I've
other
had
markets
people-
too.
Right. The Northeast market is high. California, right?
Right. Yeah, we're really
Plus-
not high. These
Right.
numbers are big, but they're really not high. And that's one thing that we've seen prices increase, and obviously material costs have gone up, and people go, "God, it's so much more expensive." But in reality, the Outer Banks is still a bargain. We are always better priced than anybody else. And honestly, in my opinion, we're a better cash flow investment if you are looking for a property that you can rent for that reason.
Right. When you compare yourself to Myrtle Beach, those kind of areas, we're much less expensive than they are.
To build.
Right. And to buy.
Right. Right. And
Buy
to buy.
property.
Right. So one last thing about cost. I'm sort of curious about this because I've built houses before in projects. I'm just sort of, what a percentage is labor and what percentage is material? If you're building a $2 million house, is it $1 million in labor and $1 million in material? What's the percentage here?
It's pretty close to about the same, equal amounts, material and labor costs. Framing especially, framing, siding, roofing, it's all roughly, you can almost go, labor's the same as the material.
So if you do, but I bet if you do a smaller project, the labor percentage goes up.
Correct.
As a percentage of these bigger houses with labor percentages is able to go down.
Right.
Right.
I also, just to add to that, I have actually had appraisers who, again, I've been on the beach a long time. So they'll call me and actually ask me sometimes questions about other projects. They won't tell me who the builder is, but they'll say, Bernie, we're getting prices that are quoting up at $400 and $500 a square foot. Is that even close to reality? And it's not. So there are still, people on this beach that are trying to take advantage of these prices and trying to get them escalated where, again, I get my repeat customers because I just do a fair product.
Right. Do you ever see houses actually getting smaller as the market progresses, you think? Or do you think this is just where we're going to always go and build bigger houses? So we're going to become a Long Island people just tear the houses down and build a new one?
We are tearing down a lot of oceanfront homes. They hit that 25-year-old age, they start to get torn down because they're just too small for the price of an oceanfront lot. You want to make sure your return is going to be acceptable. But in general, we kind of went big. Everybody was going 12 bedrooms for a long time. And this past 2 years now, I'm seeing kind of a mix of all different sizes. Even ourselves in this year's group of homes that we're building, I have a little 3-bedroom house that's 2,400 square feet that we're building. And I've got the big 12 bedrooms that are the 6,800 square feet.
Right. Well, we've got about 4 minutes left because these calls are limited about how long we can tape. And so, Alex, you didn't get this. I didn't mean to ignore you, but I had a lot of things I wanted to ask Bernie. Let you chime in for these last 2 minutes.
Well, I think one thing that Bernie mentioned is he reads my newsletter.
and listens to the podcast. Hey, I want to point out this is the #1 mortgage podcast in Eastern North Carolina because guess what? Nobody else takes the time to do it. We're just trying to give
a lot of work. That is true. That is a lot of work. What I see when you guys pop that out each week. I mean, sometimes I have to write a letter or something, and if it's not flowing off of in your brain, you can sit there for a long time trying to get out your thoughts.
Yeah. But I just want to mention for people watching that, he reads our newsletter. It includes what the market's doing as far as rates go. Obviously, people like your builders are reading it, attorneys are reading it, CPAs are reading it, our previous clients are reading it, people that are going to build in the future are reading it. I just feel like it's worth bringing that topic up. And I think the last thing that I wanted to mention was he mentioned that he's building some smaller homes too, and I just financed a primary home borrower or a client with Bernie, and I just feel like, I know we're talking a lot about these bigger rental properties and such, but I love when someone's an equal opportunity type of business, and Bernie is making it happen for this primary home client of his, and I just feel like it's worth mentioning that he doesn't just do rental properties. If there's a way to help somebody, I've always seen him going the extra mile to do it.
That's really worth pointing out. I mean, because he doesn't have to build these lower priced homes. He could just say, "Hey, it's not $1 million. I don't want to do it." And
they're actually a lot of fun to build though, because you're right. The people appreciate. I got a lot of young folks, younger than you, young man, and and I'm amazed sometimes how young they are and still have the money to, for down payments.
Right.
And but the smile at the end is worth it. It really is.
Yeah. All right. Well, listen, I appreciate your time, Bernie. It's been awesome talking to you. You've given, I think, us some great information, stuff I didn't know, and thanks for your time. And we look forward to working with you. And let's keep going. Thanks a lot.
Okay.
Thanks.
All right.
Sure thing. All right. Bye-bye.